So welcome back, everybody. Radical Russ here with our live coverage at the High Times Cannabis Cup in the Bay Area, which I guess is Santa Rosa Bay Area. Can we count Santa Rosa?
It's the bigger Upper Bay.
The bigger Upper Bay Area. Valerie Corral from Wham is here. If anybody would be an expert, she would know. So welcome to the show again.
Nice to see you. Thank you so much for having me on.
Tonight, you are receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award from High Times at this Cannabis Cup. Tell us how you feel about that. That's pretty remarkable.
Well, to have my name mentioned in the same sentence as Lester Grinspoon is an honor in itself. And to be awarded this remarkable honor through High Times it's moving, touching, and I'm so grateful. You know, I'm grateful to a huge movement, and I am also grateful to be able to tread between the legalization movement, the whole legalization movement, and really this is about civil liberties, so there's no line, no division.
That's fantastic to hear, and we've made such progress since you began. You just even on a national level, we're up to 23 states that have some form of medical marijuana legislation, but the last couple seem to be reticent to allow people to get at the plant itself. Minnesota passed one with, you can't get the plant. How do you feel about moving forward in especially these East Coast states and convincing them how the plant itself is better than its initial cannabinoids, the cannabinoids inside?
Well, I think that they're not necessarily two separate issues, but I think if we look at the bigger issue in as much as control and the economic value to possessing plants, we can see that it's really a corporate move to possess nature.
Yes.
And I think that the danger here and the ultimate, really, I think the war, the battle is on, and the ultimate threat is the corporatization and GMO of plants.
Yes.
Because what happens with legislature around cannabis will be the legislation over all plants in America and Canada. Sorry Canadians, but they really do mimic what we're doing. And I think that that's difficulty, something that we have to not only look at but fear. Possession over nature, dominion over nature, allows the corporate structure to have dominion over all of us, to subjugate us to their medicines, their will, their way. I think if we look at corporatization, if we look at the pharmaceutical industry, and we truly ask ourselves, have they produced better medicines? We can honestly say, not necessarily.
Right.
Some of the medicines, yes, and we want to have access, when we're in a situation that's stat, where we need to in triage and in emergency situations. Of course, we want immediately deliverable medicines. So delivery system is important and necessary. But to take away access to plants by human beings, it's fraught with difficulty. And really, look at this piece. Monsanto, one of the major stockholders in Monsanto is George Soros. I was, bless your heart, George, for helping us through Prop 215 in the mid-90s. But without really knowing, what was he doing? He's preparing for his foothold with Monsanto to take over the plant kingdom. Now, think about this, in the last 25 years, there have been 3 efforts by the FDA to control herbal applications, herbal medicines or herbs in health food stores or stores where we can access them.
Right.
Now, what was that about? So if you look at it in the last 25 years, we weren't the only people who were looking at the amazing pieces to this medicine and the possibilities. Certainly the government was, and certainly corporate interest was doing that. Research is motivated by pharmaceutical industry and by the corporate industry.
$100 million to get through an FDA trial, so that's a lot of money.
Right, somebody's got to be paying. And anything that's done in a university these days is corporate motivated, corporate money motivated.
Sure.
So this is the time, we separate our movements, we separate civil liberties, we separate the types of access to medicine, to cannabis. We separate ourselves from the gay movement, the feminist movement, the civil liberties, civil rights movements. And that was really the anti-war movement. These are the problems that we faced in the 60s and 70s when we became divergent. If we, yes, smoke it, get high, smoke it, get healed, take the oils, get healed, don't get high, whatever your vision is of your freedom to imbibe, to use, or to access medicine, what's the greatest question that lay at our fingertips? The greatest, in my opinion, the biggest piece that we have to face is not only that I can access, and the me, but how does everyone access it? How do we have equal rights in that access? And how do we step away from dominion over nature and recognize our part of nature? We're a piece of it. We're a part of nature. We are fracking, we are breaking, we are ruining our nation. We are stealing water from Northern California and sending it to Southern California, where they're watering their lawns and it runs in the street, where there's no drought.
Yeah.
And
we drove here and saw those reservoirs, how low they were. Wow.
We forget,
Yeah.
we forget that we're all connected. And yes, obtaining what you need in the moment, there's a necessity and an importance in that, but our greed can only last our lifetime. And I promise, I've been by the deathbed of more than 150 people in excess of that. And nobody takes a damn thing with them. If you're rich, you can afford a more expensive nurse. Big deal. That's not necessarily who you need by your bedside.
Yeah.
So really, what we share and the impact of how we share it and how it impacts 50 generations from now, we're woven into the future. This is the nexus. This moment is the nexus between the past and what lay ahead of us. It is extremely important that we look beyond our own needs and that we look to the world to feed the world, but not GMO, that's owned by Monsanto and DuPont, by Johnson & Johnson, and by all these extreme powers. They're extremists.
I've often said that the miracle of medical cannabis isn't necessarily its cannabinoid constituents, it's that we can grow our own medicine and separate ourselves from a whole pack of middlemen in white coats, and that's what really upsets the apple cart. It's not that it has THC or CBD. They've got Schedule 2 and 3 medicines that have that. Mm-hmm. It's that we can grow it ourselves. And so I'm so glad to hear you speak to that. And about being at this nexus where we're trying to move into a full legalization for all. Everyone speaks of California moving on to 2016. How would you like to see that guided as California goes? Usually so goes the nation. Mm-hmm. So what sort of precedents would you like to see California set in protecting medical use and moving forward to legalization?
I think the first piece of that is anti-GMO. Write out the GMO part.
Okay.
It's extremely important that legislation be mimicked throughout the nation and in Canada. And these are our biggest fears. I think, because again, it's not just about cannabis. We're thinking in such small ways, mm-hmm. when really the future lay upon our shoulders. As it's our responsibility to think to the future, to think about protecting it, because our impact is so profound and there are so many of us. We can move this in the direction that we want. I believe that everybody should be able to grow their own medicine.
Yes.
Why not? I believe that, and I trust that all products made from cannabis are legal. This whole hysteria around the oils is to take the oils away from us because we're finding success with them. Mm. And we do not need to pay the man to do it for us.
Right.
We absolutely do not. Safety, well, be safe, and if you're not and you blow your hand off, you were stupid. Is there a price to pay for that? Do we need to have such regulation that we cannot think for ourselves? If you replace ignorance with education, you've empowered people, but you've not only empowered them, you've empowered a whole class of human beings.
Yeah. I often talk about how every year in this country there are 1,000 oil explosions from deep frying turkeys.
Oh, we better.
Dallas, Texas, 19. They led the nation. 19 turkeys blew up on Thanksgiving Day when somebody tried to deep fat fry it. Right? That doesn't mean we want to ban turkey frying, and we just want to educate people on how to do it right. And so the fire departments come out and they talk about what the proper way is and the safety procedures and have a fire extinguisher, etc. Let's treat adults like adults.
I have a small challenge. young people, who do we look to for their brilliance and for the creativity, for the cutting edge? We look to young people because they will find the way. And here we are, we're packing the butane bowls and really, really, because don't we want to move away from the oil industry? Who have they helped in the last 100 years? Anybody? No, not anybody. So I challenge young people to come up with a better way to make the oils, a more efficient, more practical, a little bit safer with no residuals.
There you go.
0 parts per million. 0 parts per million of the oil industry in your lungs, in your bloodstream, in your car.
Good to hear it. Valerie Corral with Wham. She's accepting a Lifetime Achievement Award tonight from High Times. We're in a warm pavilion, so I'm going to wrap things up and give you the last word. If people want to contact you or learn more, I mean, we could be here for hours telling your story, but, people could probably find that online and in books. So give them some contact information.
Yes, contact us at WAMM.org. We're in Santa Cruz, California, and we need your donations. We're trying to save the land, and WAM is trying to buy its own garden. So it would be really great to continue our work. We work with people who are marginally, financially compromised, because this is America, and even with Obamacare, it is not single payer. It is not helping individuals. 40 WAM members have become homeless in 22 years after their diagnosis. So we help people for free if they need it. We get many people coming to us to ask for free medicine. We get few people coming to us to provide care. You can help one more person. You can give care to another person. You can do it one-on-one. It's an easy thing to do. And besides, it produces oxytocin to do a good deed.
That's
do a
right.
good deed.
Valerie, thank you for joining us again. It's so nice to see you, and congratulations.
Thank you so much for having me on.
All
My
right.
pleasure. Peace.
Back to some music here at the Cannabis Cup. Enjoy, everyone.